Hey friends, this is the Miss Wolfie from our Half Acre Homestead, and today we're going to start work on that antique quilt. Okay, so here it is. And see, here's a mouse hole. I'll show you it when I get it all laid out. Okay, as you can see, this is 19. Let me show it to you this way: 1919. 1918, 1916, 1917. So if you go by the 2016, this quilt is 100 years old. But as you can see, a mouse got into it. So I'm going to patch these pieces, like this here, with feed sack fabric. Now, feed sack fabric, they call it feed sack fabric, but what it actually is like flour sacks and sugar sacks from the 1920s and 30s. They discovered people were making clothes out of them because they were cotton muslin. And so some companies got really smart and started putting prints on their fabrics so that people would buy their flour and their sugar. And so that's the closest I'm going to have to this. And I've already embroidered the one patch that I want to put on to make sure that the year is on it, 2016. And so all the new feed sack fabrics, all the feed sack fabric patches I do are going to be 2016, even though they're much, much older than that. Wow, eh? Look at this. And I want to show you, this is the corner that has come undone. And I want to show you, look, it's old like sweater material in there. Isn't that wild? And here's all the hand stitching on the back. Amazing, eh? Let's get started. Okay, this is my collection of feed sack fabrics, and they're really old. And I bought these in 2008, and this is the closest I can make the fabric because there is a lot of repair work that needs to be done. And this here, I can't even pull this quilt around because the fabric is so delicate it's tearing. Now, I'm not going to repair every single little hole. I'm just going to repair the big ones. There's even some velveteen here. And this is my collection of antique threads. And I'm going to be using those too. So the only thing that's not going to be antique is the embroidery floss I used on the patch that I embroidered, B. Foley 2016. And I should have, the only reason it's in the center of this cloth is because I had to put it in a quilting or an embroidery hoop. So let's just cut this off. So all the newer fabrics, the feed sack fabrics, are actually going to be dated by this one patch, so that everybody will know that the patches that I put in are at least antique. I know I should be spending, $200 or $300 on fabric from 1910 or something, but you know what, folks? That would actually try and make it look like it's the original quilt, and that's not what I want you to see. I want you to see parts of the original quilt, but I don't want to take away from the original quilt. I'm actually hoping that this can be hung over our bed like a headboard when it's done. Just like my wool shop quilt will be hung on my dining room wall. So now I've made the base stitch right here, and then I'm going to go along here. I'm going to take my thread this way and I'm going to go along here, and I'm going to hold the thread to the side, and then I'm going to go under and come up as if it was an invisible stitch. I did this backwards. And I am trying to get this all the way through to at least the lining, because the fabric I'm sewing it to is actually very, very delicate. And I'm going to be picking some soapwort flowers, and I'm going to wash the quilt. When this is all done, I'm going to wash it, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can wash this without having it dry cleaned. I wouldn't want to dry clean something like this. Why? Because it's a chemical process. And this is not a chemical friendly project. All right, so when I get another one going, I will show you. Now I have decided that I'm going to use cotton embroidery floss for my crazy quilt stitching. It is more colorful. So I'm going to do a feather stitch. And all I'm going to do is hold this down here. Okay, I'm back. It's been over a week since I've had a chance to sit down and work on this. And now I am not going to completely repair this on video, because it would take way, way too long to do. And I'm still trying to figure out these stitches too, which it's been so long I've forgotten how to do it. So I go here, A, B, and then we go back over here. Anyway, these are some pretty fancy stitches, folks, and I am really not used to them. So I'm only going to do these couple, and these fabrics, some of these, like you can see the stains on them, even though they've been laundered. These are really, really old fabrics. Not as old as this quilt, but old enough. Yeah, this isn't as easy as they make it look. Okay, I have another patch here that I'm going to do. And what I want to show you is, I'm not sure if I told you this in the beginning, but this is what's known as a crazy quilt. This quilt was made, like, it's really badly stained in spots. This quilt was made with, you know, sweater liners and all kinds of stuff. I have a bigger patch here to do, and I've taken a piece of my feed sack fabric, and I'm going to patch this. But when I'm done with bigger patches like this, I'm going to see if I can't quilt from the original lines, because once this is a big patch, and when you crazy quilt it around the corners, it's going to be loose in here, so we're going to want to quilt it. Now somebody mentioned, see, I'm even using the stained piece because it gives it authenticity, but somebody said that I should actually turn these pieces of fabric over so that they have a more faded look. No. I'm using them, A, because I want people to realize that this has been repaired, so these fabrics don't match. I'm also using the different colors of embroidery cotton. Why? Because all these regular patches were stitched crazy quilt with an off-white, or what once may have been white. So my patches, my repaired patches, are going to be different fabric with different cotton thread, so that people will be able to know that the one patch that says 2016 is going to represent all of these patches with the colored thread. So I'm just going to pin along here, and I'm not, like I said in with the last block, I'm not going to spend all my time trying to figure out fancy stitches. These folks didn't. They kept it really simple. So I'm going to honor that. I'm going to honor that with the fact that, A, I can't do fancy stitching. I'm a sewer, folks, not an embroiderer. I don't embroider. I don't embroider, I don't cross stitch. I sew. I sew by hand, I sew by machine. But fancy stitches, forget about it. Now, if it was knitting, that's another ball game. So I think people assume that because I quilt, that I just know everything there is to know about sewing, and that's just not true. Now I've decided to make these stitches a little bit on the bigger side. Why? Because the smaller they are, this is a thicker yarn, the smaller they are, the more they'll bunch up. So I'm just, you know, folks, I know there's going to be a lot of people out there who are going to watch this video and flip out because I am repairing a 100-year-old quilt with 80-year-old fabric and, you know, 20-year-old embroidery cotton, and they're gonna freak out because I'm devaluing it by not using the fabric from the era that it came from. And you know what, folks? That's only going to devalue it in dollars and cents. It's not going to devalue it in the way I look at it, which is I am learning from my elders. I am learning this from the people who made it before me. And dollar value be damned, folks. It's not about the dollar value for me, folks. The value I'm getting out of this is the education and the chance to honor the elders that I never met. Now, no, my family did not make this quilt, but then most of my family who could have taught me these things are long gone. So I'm taking this opportunity in honoring my ancestors and honoring the old folk by trying to bring something back to life that otherwise would just be sitting in a plastic bag. See, Aunt Jane is still in my brain saying quilts are for using, not for sitting in a closet in a plastic bag. And she was right. This way, no, I'm not going to use it on a bed, but it is going to get used and displayed on my bedroom wall as a headboard for my bed. And I've just got to make a little knot here so that I can snip this off. It's going to get hung. I'm going to get Howie to make a frame for it, and then we can hang it on our bedroom wall as a reminder. So as you can see, this X marks the spot stitch is the only one I've mastered next to the blanket stitch. So when I'm done this patch, we'll be back. Okay, so what I've done here, let's see if I can get you a little closer, is you can see this red thread here. What I have done is I have pinned it from the edge of the original stitching to the edge of the original stitching over here to give myself a guideline to sew my stitching line without marking the fabric. And again, normally I would make much smaller stitches and it would be on a frame and all those things. But right now, we are working with what we have. Okay, I ended up doubling the thread just so, because when I did it over here, you can't even really see it as compared to there. So I wanted it to be more authentic looking, I guess. I got to share with you folks, while I was working on this quilt, as I've been working on it, I've been getting really emotional. And I realized why. I'm looking at the dates on this quilt, and my mom's mom, my grandmother. I'm 52 years old. I'm the baby of the family, and my mom was the second youngest out of 13. So you can imagine how old her parents were. Okay? All my grandparents were born in the 1800s. Okay? My grandparents, born in the 1800s. So I'm looking at the dates on this, and I'm looking at 1916, and I'm thinking, my God, my grandmother was still having babies. And I'm looking at the date 1919. And that's the date my father's parents, my grandparents on my dad's side, came over from Scotland. And I'm realizing it doesn't matter who made this quilt. I'm honoring them all. They have a saying in England, in North America, 100 years is a long time. And in England, 100 miles is a long distance. But to me, wow, this is history. It's history in my hands. And I feel the presence of those folk, whether I'm related to them or not. Anyway, folks, this is going to be quite a long project. And it's canning season, okay? It's August. Not to mention the fact that I have 4 quilts on the go, and you guys all want to see them all. You want to see me work on the Texas Star quilt. You want to see me work on the Wool Shop quilt. You want to see me work on the Grandmother's Flower Garden quilt, and you want to see me work on my son's quilt and this one. It's canning season. So bear with me if it takes a few months. But when this is finished being repaired, then I'm going to do an update video showing you what I've done for repairs and showing you how to wash something this delicate. This is the Mrs. Wolfe from our Half Acre Homestead saying, thanks for your patience, guys. I know you see me prepare a lot of quilts and start a lot of quilts and you don't get to see me finish them. They are big projects. Take care. God bless.